talking to Bruce Langford. And Bruce, in terms of health and wellness, you're an expert. I wanted to ask you, what techniques can people use specifically to get started being more mindful? Additional techniques, because you just gave us some, but are meditations good? When life seems crazy or hectic, how can people be more mindful? And what are some techniques they can use, additional techniques?
Well, I like that you said meditations, because that's what I was going to say. But stop, wait a second, because the word meditation itself can just throw people off sometimes. And sometimes they just think, whoa, that's just not for me. It might be right for some people, but that's not in my comfort zone. You know what? It's just a word. All meditation means is stopping, breathing, and just allowing your mind to be cleared. It doesn't mean that there are no thoughts in your mind. It doesn't mean it's completely devoid of any activity, but it really makes a huge difference if you do a little meditating over a period of 2 or 3 weeks. Scientists have done studies and found out that as short as a 3-week time period can make a really noticeable difference to you and your brain and how your brain works. So if you've never meditated, well, first of all, don't worry about the word. Just say to yourself, you know what? I can do this for 2 minutes. I can do it for 2 minutes. It's not going to be something that's going to have to be for 20 or 30 or 40 minutes. I don't have to sit cross-legged on a cushion. I don't have to do anything like that. I'm just going to sit in a chair so I'm comfortable, so I'm sitting with, good posture, sitting up straight. I'm going to quietly close my eyes. I'm going to just think about my breath. I'm not going to try to change it. I'm just going to sit there and breathe and relax, notice my breath, and notice my thoughts. That's okay. But keep coming back to your breath. And what I would do is just set a little timer on your phone or something like that for 2 minutes. And even you may be surprised, how that goes, that you may feel more calm after. You may feel more relaxed. And if you don't, try it again tomorrow and do it for 2-3 weeks. And it will make a difference in your life. I can guarantee it.
I can confirm that. Actually, Bruce, when he was talking, he can hear it in my voice now, but he just influenced me to do what he was saying at the time he was saying it. And some of us, this is more of a process than others. I'm talking about myself, meaning that I have done amazing meditations where I can confirm some of us make it a little bit more difficult on ourselves, and that's okay. Part of it also is loving that. But I can confirm what Bruce is saying is true. And the studies he mentioned from mainstream science are really unbelievable. And the reason why for health and wellness, I would just look into those studies, but also we help people succeed on believe, and it's directly correlated. Because if you feel better and more centered, again, it can cross over into every part of your life. And Bruce, before the interview, we were talking about Trevor Spencer, how he was talking about running, and you mentioned it inspired you to run like 1 minute and then walk 3 minutes. It sounds very similar, right? Like you can work into it with meditation. Is that right?
That is right. And you know what? We all have a story about ourselves. And, I eat healthy. I try to be as healthy as I can, but I haven't been as active as I maybe could have been recently. And listening to you, Nicholas, on that interview with Trevor, I thought, yeah, like I need to get out there and be more. But then I had this story happening in my mind that I just could identify. And that was, hey, you probably can't run around the building, like you've never been a runner. What do you think? Like, why do you think you can go out there and run? And, like that's just crazy. And yet I listened to what Trevor said. I listened to how you encouraged your listeners to get out there. And I thought, yeah, there's no reason I can't do exactly what he said. And that could be the same kind of story you're telling yourself about meditating, that, hey, that's something I just can't do. My mind's too active. My mind's too busy. And look, I can tell you, I know about an active mind. I've been there. I've been in places of extreme anxiety and stress and just feeling like the whole world was coming down on me.
Right.
But you know what? You take one thing, you take one step and do that one thing, that 2 minutes of meditating or that 1 minute of jogging, and then you just walk, and it can make a difference in your life.
I agree. So what I hear, Bruce, is the small victories, the small victories, give yourself some credit, right? Give yourself some credit for those small victories. I mean, I applaud you because I know it's so tough even to give ourselves credit after we do something. I mean, just being on your show, being on some other shows, and you put yourself out there too with your podcast, mindfulnessmode.com, which I recommend everybody listen to. But just doing that, it took so much to get there. And even after I'm doing it, it's like I could have been used to in the past doubting myself. And even after doing it, there's actually, we're talking about health and wellness and science. There's something called the lizard brain. Neuroscientists have identified this. It's not the scientific name, but a lot of them literally call it the lizard brain, and it prevents ourselves from changing even when we want to and we know it's right. It's something to do with survival. And it sounds like, I mean, let me ask you, Bruce, in terms of your story, how do you work with that? Like, how do you make that transition? You mentioned that you were able to do it with running, but how do you make that jump from saying that you can do it, having confidence, even though like again, meditation, it could sound good, there's a bunch of benefits, but you know what? Something's holding you back, or you doubt yourself, or you think maybe it's not for you. How do you make that leap?
Well, how I make that leap is I think about it a little and be careful not to think about it too much, because I think that is where we fall into a dark place. Think about it. And once I realize, and that's the trick, is to notice your thoughts, notice what you're thinking. So if I'm thinking about something a bit, then I stop and I think, okay, I've been thinking about that. Hey, take action. Taking action is the biggest, most amazing secret I can tell you. You take action, because our human tendency is to kind of work through these things in our mind and keep working through them until sometimes they're stressing us out, they're causing anxiety, when in fact, if after the first time or two I thought about it, I just took action. I just started doing whatever it is. Like when I started the podcast, I just thought, you know what? This is something I'm going to do. Now, I had to learn about it. I had to put steps in place and that kind of thing. But I also had to be careful that I didn't just keep on learning from people, reading books, learning more, reading books, thinking I'm never going to be ready. I have to learn more.
Analysis paralysis, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, good. Yeah. So you, and then you took action. So basically you could have eternally been learning, but there was a point where you just did it, correct? Like Nike, exactly. like the Nike running shoes, just do it, right?
Just do it. And sometimes you're going to feel like you're not prepared when you start, and you're building that plane as you hit the runway. You're trying to figure out how this whole thing works. And sometimes that is the best way to do it. Just do it. Figure it out as you're doing it, because otherwise, we can get mired in this place where we're reading books and learning so much and learning so much and learning so much. And I've been there. Mm-hmm. I've been there. I've read a zillion books, watched tons of webinars and all these kinds of things. But I just urge you to, make up your mind, do the thing that is right for you in your life, whatever it is, whatever motivates you, just get out there and do it. And that will really give you a level of satisfaction. And mindfulness along the way will help you with it also.
That's right. And loving those tough parts of yourself that would have prevented you, or those doubts, I think is okay. There's actually an energetic pattern. I mean, this is something that I've felt, and it's not just me. When you look into Qigong and from China, but what Bruce is saying, I mean, to be aware of your thoughts is the first step. And then everybody knows how they feel when they feel love. You can literally pass that energetic pattern onto those parts in your brain that are resisting it like you know what. And there's a feeling, and you can actually let that love feeling spread and that understanding spread to that, I'll just call it darkness and doubt. And that can help to open up too. There's so many ways. In fact, Bruce, we have a video that's 5 minutes long, and I'm saying how to have success in the next 5 minutes, and literally figure out what you can do now to go towards your goal, and just do it when you stop watching this video. And
exactly.
And
yeah, that's great advice.
Yeah, and to agree with you even further, Apple puts out software. They're the biggest company in the world. I think they're bigger now than ExxonMobil. Almost all of their updates have errors. If they have a big version update, and they put it out anyway, and they're the biggest company in the world. Almost nobody is perfect. Well, excuse me, maybe nobody, right? Jesus, who's not with us anymore, maybe, right? So, and Muhammad and Buddha, maybe all those guys. But all of us, like even Apple, the biggest company in the world, are putting things out and it's not perfect. So I applaud you. And in terms of what you said, in terms of mindfulness to start, when I started, and I want to get in the next segment to more specifics that you'd like to share regarding meditation, but meditation-wise, in 2007, when I first started doing it, it wasn't till, maybe it was 2008. I wasn't 27 until I really started this, but it was literally just clearing my mind. I know you said that wasn't necessary, and it isn't. There's many types of meditation, but I literally, for 10 minutes, just let whatever come up that was going to come up, didn't judge it. You know, of course, Bruce has heard of this, and then let it go and just let my mind be clear for 10 minutes. And I will tell you, even though I've done other things, if I did do that every day, and maybe it's not that I'm resisting it. Sometimes we're led to other things as well. I've had sometimes it's not a linear path. We're just going to do one thing, and if we don't, we're a failure. It can be a circular spiral that we learn other things as well, or we can be resisting it too. By the way, we can make excuses as well. But clearing my head for 10 minutes, if somebody were to do that every day, they would have significant changes.